Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to High Top Sports Oregon. I'm Cody the Professor. We got Derek the Duck. Hey, got a big game this week. Another Big Ten matchup. But first, I wanted to say to our proud sponsors, go ahead, check them out. This video is powered by BetUS. Go to betus.com. Use the code YouTube150. Get 150% back on your first deposit, 125 on your second deposit, up to $2,000. So even if we are wrong on the pick'ems, which sometimes we are, you always let us know in the comments that we have terrible picks sometimes. Sometimes we're winners. But you get your money back with the code YouTube150. You can't beat it. All right, Derek. So obviously another Big Ten matchup, a team that you should just beat willingly. But this is the step to be an elite team. You got to beat the teams you should.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I've kind of been looking forward to it on the schedule, and you kind of look at it and you're like, I don't want to call it like a built-in bye week, but I mean, realistically, let's call it like it is. This is a team that got blown out by Minnesota. They got blown out at home against Northwestern. It's like they got blown out against Indiana, which I mean, I get it. That's what everybody's
Indiana's
doing this
blown
year.
out everybody.
Yeah, and then I think they lost at home once again to Michigan State, a team who can't get out of their own way. So it's like this Maryland team they played a good game on national TV a couple weeks ago against USC. But then again, once again, we see USC is very far from what we expected them to be this year. So I really don't know how much that's saying. But yeah, coming into the weekend, man, I feel really good about it. If you're an Oregon fan on Twitter, you see that the Maryland fans, they're very falsely confident. They have a great trolling fan base, so I've had a lot of fun with those guys this week. But yeah, I feel good heading into the weekend.
Yeah, I really don't know last time Maryland was relevant. I think they won a national championship like early 2000s.
Like World War One.
I don't know. Maybe they had a big game like maybe in the early 90s. I don't know. I can't remember the last time they were really relevant. Their last relevant player that I remember out of Maryland was Stephon Diggs. So, and he's been in the league a minute. So,
yeah, I mean they've had pieces come and go, but it's just I believe they just had the Big Ten's all-time leading passer in Tulia Tungavailoa, just graduated last year. So I mean they've had pieces there, but like you said, like in terms of a program and just like the national relevancy, I don't remember Maryland. Honestly, like not even trying to troll here, I don't remember Maryland in my lifetime playing a big game. Correct me if I'm wrong. Someone in the comments, I'm sure, will let me know if I'm wrong. Yep. But I can't recall it off the top of my head.
For sure. Let's go ahead. Let's get straight into the keys of the game. Offensively, Dylan Gabriel, test Maryland on defense with some deeper shots. Don't get reserved in the second half. Now, listen, if there's been one complaint with this Will Stein offense, it's got a little conservative after they've gotten up. And you really haven't blown anybody out. I mean, you haven't pulled an Old Miss hanging 60 on somebody yet. It's gotten conservative. They ran the ball. I mean, I get it, but I think that's one little nitpick if we're going to nitpick the Oregon offense right now.
For sure, bro. If you ask our fan base right now, just about our offense, they will tell you quarter one, phenomenal. Quarter two, phenomenal. Quarter three, completely and utterly non-existent in terms of what we're able to do on offense. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. But, I mean, if you look at a breakdown by quarter this year, it is such a vast discrepancy between the third quarter and the rest of the game. It's like actually unreal. However, with that being said, if there's a team that you have built into your schedule that you can break that on and you can hang a 60 burger on, you're looking at them right here. It's most definitely the Terps. Like you said, you just mentioned Dylan Gabriel, what they're going to need to do on offense. Dylan Gabriel can absolutely have himself a field day. Whether or not that happens, we still got to play the game, obviously. But I mean, there is a world of opportunity in front of them. And then, another one that we've been talking about for the last couple weeks now, it seems like, is Evan Stewart, who's really come into his own over the last couple weeks now. And now with Tez Johnson now kind of stepping into that wide receiver one role, I think he's going to have a massive day at the office. Maryland's secondary is absolutely one that's really susceptible to the explosive play. That's exactly why we brought Evan Stewart here, and Dylan Gabriel's looked like a deep ball savant when he's dropping back and dropping it in. So I really like where this offense sits. I think regardless of what the defense is doing. From this conversation, I think they're going to put up. I think they put up over 50 this week.
For sure, for sure. And then let's go ahead and get into Jordan James. I'd like to see him kind of stretch the outside a little bit. Hey, he's a great down the hill runner. Can catch the ball out of the backfield. Maryland's very susceptible on that defensive line. You can really pop the outside runs on them. Ball security is always going to be top notch for a running back, and then obviously pass blocking in the passing game. Got to do that, which he's done. He's done very well. It's just the key to the game. What do you think on that?
Yeah, 100%. Jordan James, he's a dude who he's been successful in every game that he's played on into this far, playing far more talented defensive lines than what Maryland's going to have to offer this week. But like you said, Maryland is most definitely a team where if you can get the ball out to the edge with your tailback, you're asking for a big play. Their linebackers are not particularly athletic. Their edge rushers, I'd call them average at best. They've shown flashes, and they have had games where the Maryland defensive line has looked decent, albeit against Virginia is the one, that I'm thinking of in my head right now. But, I mean, they're capable. But Jordan James, man, it's just like he is one of those running backs in college football where every time he touches the ball, you understand you have a chance to score. And I think we're going to see a couple big explosive plays out of Jordan James and Noah Whittington for that matter this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. They really like Whittington. It seems like kind of in that red zone area. But let's go ahead and check out Evan Stewart again. Obviously with the big man going down, number one receiver going down, he's got to step into that role. Get open on the double moves. That's going to be it's going to be very easy to get open on the double moves. They were frequent and they were very successful on those double moves last week. And then the quick slants for the easy first downs, got to do that. Catch the ball, and then yards after contact. Get them when you can because you'll be able to get them for sure.
Oh, 100%. It's ironic you mentioned the Evan Stewart. I remember when we were doing our pre-show last weekend, you said that was one of the keys. Evan Stewart really needed to hit and take advantage of those double moves. He had two big plays last week, and both of them came on those double moves. So it's going to be the same thing here. Maryland safeties really not great. So I really do like Evan Stewart's opportunity to kind of hit that double move. And I'm sure you know how that Oregon offense is with Will Stein. They're going to slow bleed that thing. They're going to hit you on a ton of little screens, a bunch of little crossers, ton of passes behind the line of scrimmage, and then, kind of sucking everybody in. And then before you know it, you take the top off the defense and, you just scored 7. So I think Evan Stewart's going to find the end zone this week.
So out of the wide receivers, who do you think has a bigger impact this week, him or Holden?
That's a great question. Honestly, I'm tempted to say Trayshawn Holden in this situation. And Evan Stewart, it's kind of like we were just talking about briefly before the show, where he seems to be like a very boomer bust type player for this Oregon offense, where when he's on and, he's hitting his routes and he and Dylan kind of have that chemistry going, he's great. But there are times where we have seen him kind of go MIA, right? And I mean, we're talking almost entire games. I'm thinking very early on in the year, albeit, that was Idaho and Boise, who I would argue Oregon right now is a substantially different team right now than they were in those first 2 weeks. But, doesn't take away from the point that he can disappear. And then Trayshawn Holden is coming back, and that's someone who, even though he's missed time, for his little suspension, the man is still second in targets on the team. So it's like Dylan Gabriel has that connection with him, and he's been proven to be extremely reliable all year. So I think Trayshawn Holden will have the more consistent impact, but I do think Evan Stewart will, at some point in this game tomorrow, will take the top off for a long touchdown.
Yeah, it's the flashes are definitely there. It's just can he get it all together? Because, like I said, there was one a couple weeks ago. We said, I was like, yeah, get him started early, and they literally hit him like 4 or 5 times on the first 2 drives. Actually, they hit him like 8 targets on the first 2 drives, and then he was missing the rest of the game. I'm like, where's this cat at?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of components to it. One, I mean, he kind of is that deep ball threat in Oregon's offense. They're not an offense that's going to, make their money going deep frequently.
Yeah.
Their susceptibility is sucking everybody in, and kind of lulling you to sleep until they take the top off. And it's just, that's not going to happen all the time. So I think that's where Evan falls back a little bit. And then just the depth of the wide receiver room. Like another thing we were talking about before we came on the cast was the fact that Tez Johnson is doubling up everybody in receptions and targets to this point right now. So it's like there's a very clear favorite in that wide receiver room. And now he's gone. So we're going to see what's going to, how this offense is going to function and who kind of it's going to go through on the outside.
Yeah, it's a good test with Tez being gone. That this will be a good, easy game to kind of work in those other wide receivers for sure. Let's go ahead, get some gambling out of the way. At BetUS.com, go ahead, check them out. You get 150% back on your first deposit with the code YouTube150. You get a 125 back on your second deposit up to $2,000. Check them out. Use the code YouTube150. Let's go ahead. Let's circle this game right here. Michigan, Indiana. Now, I'm gonna shock everybody. I'm gonna take the points, Michigan. I'm going to take the money line, Indiana, and the under of 48.5. I think it's gonna be a little bit lower scoring game.
I like the under. I like the under on the points. It's a real fickle little line when you're playing the points and then you pick the opposite spread. With that being said, though, if you hit that sweet little spot, man, you can really cash out.
I'm not saying Michigan's going to score a bunch of points. I think they might hold Indiana down. I think Indiana wins for sure, but I think it's like by like 10.
Yeah, I would take the under on the total and then leave it at the Indiana money line. Me personally, obviously with our little promo at BetUS, you have a little freedom to, get a little frisky with it. So,
yeah,
sprinkle in those extra legs.
Oh, right here we got your boys Washington at Penn State. Let's go ahead and talk about them real fast. We got a little
Let's
time.
do it.
All right, let's go Penn State. Let's go the points, the money line, and the over 47.
Give me the over of 47, and I don't care if it was Penn State minus 21 right now. Give me the Penn State spread. I think they are going to dog walk Washington tomorrow, and I can't wait for it.
Oh.
Can't wait.
Not a fan of old Jed, I see. All right, let's get back to our featured program here. Keys on the defense, Devin Jackson, as always, my favorite player. That's why he always makes it, because I make the graphics. Truly my favorite player. He's going to be an elite NFL linebacker. Just wait. Just see. He needs to cover the tight ends across the middle. They're going to do that. And he needs to obviously flow to the run. Don't get caught up with the offensive lineman pulling, and then tackling out in space. There's going to be some times he's going to need to make some tackles out in space. Needs to do that well. I think it's going to be pretty easy for him.
Yeah, I think Maryland, they definitely have a pass-first offense. And I think just given the skill set at the linebacker position that Devin Jackson's able to bring, I think this is just a formula for him to light up the stat sheet. Now, this is not me saying he's going to go out there and have interceptions and forced fumbles, but what I do think you're going to see is I think you're going to see him at least included on a ton of tackles tomorrow. I think he's going to be very active and patrolling the middle of that field.
And some tackle for losses, I would bet, in the run game. Let's go ahead and get to the second linebacker, because I think it's very important for the second linebacker. Bryce. So not their fastest linebacker, but their leading tackler right now. And, he's old school neck roll. Reminds me of like a Iowa linebacker. Love this kid. Be there in the run support when they run. Shoot the gap. When able, and then watch out for those pulling offensive linemen as always.
Yeah, I think we're going to be two different linebackers, and I think we're going to see them succeed in vastly different ways. I think that we're going to see Bryce Betcher a lot trying to pressure the quarterback, something he's been fairly successful at, especially as of late. So I feel like he's going to make himself known. In the pass game, not necessarily defending passes, but I do think he's going to be able to get a couple QB pressures and hurries under his belt tomorrow, if not more. And then at that, what run game Maryland isn't able to kind of try to piece together, albeit they don't have a great offensive line. So once again, it is a little bit porous, and Bryce tends to thrive in that run game. So I think it's just another one of those opportunities where we're probably going to look at the stat sheet tomorrow, and he's probably going to be near the top in total tackles.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, let's go ahead. Jabbar Muhammad, the DB. Watch for the tight ends up the seam. He's going to need to read the runs so they don't bounce it outside. And then obviously, just lock down their number one wide receiver. I don't really know of one that's elite. but
Maryland, they do have one good receiver. Okay, let me put it. Maryland has two decent receivers, but they have a clear one receiver. So Ty Felton, I think he's sitting at a little over 900 yards. I think he's got something like 6, 7 touchdowns on the year. Um, so doubling up in, once again, kind of the receptions and targets. So it kind of looks something similar to what Taz Johnson is to the Oregon offense typically, is kind of what Ty Felton is to the Maryland offense. In a capacity. So I think Jabbar Muhammad, we're going to see him a lot on Ty Felton. And then there's Caden Prather, and he's another dude. He's got I think he's pushing 500 yards on the season. So someone who gets the ball in his hands. Once again, keep in mind that Maryland is a very pass-heavy offense. So he's put up some yards. It's just Maryland's a team that doesn't capitalize particularly well. But since they're playing this tight style of offense, I think Jabbar Muhammad, he's going to be busy. They're going to have no choice but to throw at him. So I think we're going to see a whole lot of the, thumbs down. It's coming.
It's coming. And I'm going to say this. So they don't run the ball well, so the extension of the run is a short pass game. I think they're probably going to get their running backs in the pass game and some screens and some little flare passes. So, he's got to come off that edge there and get off the wide receiver block and make them open field tackles. They're tough. But, you got to be able to do that. And he's done it a couple times. He's shined there a couple times. Not his forte for sure is super great in run support, but I would like to see a little bit more in the run support aspect of him, because I think they're going to try to use that short, quick pass game to supplement their run.
Right, and actually exactly that point. So they're not going to run the ball in the same capacity that we've seen like the Ohio States, the Illinois, the Michigans, run the ball. Yeah, exactly. So those more, I don't want to call it a pro style run attack, but in a sense that's kind of what it is. Maryland is a little bit different. So kind of like you mentioned, what we're going to see is them try to use their running backs in space. There'll probably be a lot of little screens and check down passes and stuff like that. But that's exactly why I think Devin Jackson, who we just talked about, is going to thrive. And two people who, I know we've mentioned them on multiple shows throughout the year, if you guys have been tuning in, but Nico Reed and Brandon Johnson out of the nickel room. Once again, I think they're going to be extremely busy tomorrow. This is one where I know Nico Reed's kind of been taking the spotlight out of that nickel room, but I think Brandon Johnson has a big game tomorrow. I really, really do. Someone who is massively impactful in that run game in the TFLs. He's going to get that opportunity tomorrow, just given what they're going to try to do with their backs to create some momentum. So I think we see him have a big game tomorrow. Wouldn't be surprised if, they're going to try to throw his way at some point. So he's going to have an opportunity at some point to try to make a play.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank our fine sponsors, but first we'll give you our score predictions real fast. Give me Oregon 42, Maryland 14.
It's very similar to what I was thinking. I'm thinking like a 52-13 type of game. I think it's a blowout. I think Oregon covers the spread here. But then again, if you're an Oregon fan and you've been around long enough, you absolutely know these games. Sometimes they don't turn out the way we want them to. So bet responsibly.
For sure. All right, we're wrapping it up. I want to thank our proud sponsors, BetUS. I am Cody the Professor. We have Derek the Duck. We will do a post game, I'm sure, with a win with this team. If not, Derek might be MIA for a little bit in the psych ward, but that's okay. All right, we will see you later. Thank you for joining us at High Top Sports Oregon. Check our fine sponsor out, BetUS, at betus.com. We will see you later.